the abandoned shop. Emily spotted the shop while walking home. Boarded up windows, dust-covered door. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. A faded sign, Dolls by Bartholomew. The letters barely visible through the grime.
She peered through a crack. The darkness inside seemed to swallow the light. Dozens of dolls stared back, their eyes glinting eerily in the dim light. Their eyes seemed to follow her, each one more unsettling than the last. A shiver ran down her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She'd always been drawn to forgotten places. This one felt different. It was as if it was calling to her. An air of sadness hung heavy, mixed with something else, something unsettling, a sense of history, of stories untold.
A low whistle escaped her lips. It echoed eerily in the silence. The wind, she told herself. Just the wind. Curiosity got the better of her. She tried the doorknob. It felt cold and rough under her fingers. It turned with a groan. The sound echoed through the empty shop. The smell hit her first, musty and old, like a forgotten attic. It was almost overpowering.
She stepped inside, her heart pounding in her chest, the floorboards creaking beneath her weight. Each step seemed louder than the last. Light filtered through the dusty windows, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Dozens of dolls lined the shelves, each one more unsettling than the last. Porcelain faces frozen in time, some beautiful, some grotesque, all unsettling. They seemed to be waiting for something. She felt a presence here watching her. The feeling was almost tangible, like a weight pressing down on her.
Emily explored the shop, her fingers trailing along a dusty counter. A loose floorboard caught her eye. She pried it open. Beneath it, a trapdoor. Her heart pounded. What secrets did this shop hold?
She found a rusty handle and pulled. The trapdoor creaked open, revealing a set of steep, narrow stairs. A cold, damp air rushed up. She hesitated. "Turn back," a voice whispered in her head. Ignoring the voice, Emily grabbed an old lantern from the shop and lit it. The flame flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Taking a deep breath, she descended into the darkness.
The stairs led to a small, windowless room. A workbench dominated the space, littered with tools and half-finished dolls. The air felt heavy down here, oppressive, like the room itself was holding its breath.
Yellowed newspapers lay scattered on the workbench. Emily picked one up. The headline screamed, "Local dollmaker found dead in workshop." The date sent a chill down her spine. October 28th, 50 years ago to the day.
The article spoke of Bartholomew, a gifted but reclusive artist. He had poured his heart and soul into his dolls, each one unique and lifelike. But tragedy had struck him. His wife and daughter killed in a fire. Bartholomew never recovered from his loss. He became obsessed with his work, pouring all his grief and longing into his creations.
The article hinted at madness, at whispers circulating about the dolls coming to life. Emily put down the newspaper, a sense of unease settling over her. The room felt colder now, the air thick with sorrow and something else. Something ancient and malevolent. A thick, leather-bound journal lay on the workbench, its cover worn and cracked from years of use. Emily opened it, her fingers tracing Bartholomew's spidery handwriting, feeling the weight of each word as if it were a whisper from the past. The entries detailed his descent into grief, his obsession with recreating his lost loved ones in doll form. Each page was a testament to his growing madness, filled with sketches and notes. He wrote of sleepless nights, of feverish work, of whispering to the dolls as if they could hear him. His desperation was palpable, his need to bring them back almost tangible.
He believed he could imbue them with life, with the spirits of his wife and daughter. The dolls, with their lifeless eyes, became his only companions. He craved their return, no matter the cost. The photographs he clutched were a constant reminder of what he had lost and what he was willing to do to get them back.
As Emily read, the entries became more erratic, more disturbing. The handwriting grew more frantic, the words more desperate. Bartholomew wrote of ancient rituals, of forbidden magic, of sacrificing his own life force to animate his creations. He delved into the darkest corners of the occult, seeking any means to achieve his goal. His words sent shivers down her spine. The sheer madness of his plans was terrifying, and she could almost feel his presence in the room with her. She slammed the journal shut, unable to stomach anymore. The horror of his obsession was too much to bear. The room felt suffocating now, the air heavy with the weight of Bartholomew's madness and the dark secret he had taken to his grave. Emily knew she had uncovered something that was never meant to be found, a glimpse into a mind consumed by grief and madness. A noise from the shadows startled her.
What was that?
A soft whisper.
Hello? Is someone there?
Emily spun around, her heart racing.
Am I imagining things?
The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the creaking of the old house. She took a step back, bumping into the workbench. Tools clattered to the floor.
Oh no, I need to be careful.
A wave of cold air washed over her. The lantern flickered, casting grotesque shadows that danced on the walls like phantoms. The whispers came again, closer this time. They seemed to be coming from the dolls themselves. Their painted eyes seemed to follow her every move.
This can't be real.
A cold dread gripped her heart. Emily stumbled back towards the stairs, her eyes darting around the room.
I have to get out of here, now.
Emily tripped, falling to the cold stone floor. The lantern rolled away, plunging the room into darkness. Panic surged through her. She scrambled for the stairs, her hands scraping against the rough stone.
Hee hee hee.
A giggle echoed in the darkness. It was high-pitched and chilling, not the sound of a child, but something ancient and evil.
No, it can't be.
The dolls, she realized, they were alive. Bartholomew's journal, his desperate attempts to recreate life, flashed in her mind. He had succeeded, but at a terrible cost. He had infused the dolls with something dark, something vengeful.
We remember.
The whispers grew louder, swirling around her like a malevolent wind. They spoke of their creator's pain, his obsession, and his ultimate betrayal.
He will pay. And so will you.
They would make him pay, and anyone who stood in their way. Scrambling to her feet, Emily ran towards the stairs, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. The dim light cast eerie shadows on the walls, making everything seem more sinister. Her hand reached for the railing, but it was gone. She looked down, her eyes widening in horror as she realized the danger she was in.
Dozens of tiny hands, cold and lifeless, pulled at my legs, my clothes. They were relentless, their grip unyielding. Each touch sent a jolt of terror through me, as if their coldness was seeping into my very soul.
Their grip was surprisingly strong, their porcelain faces twisted into grotesque expressions of rage and hunger. They wanted revenge, and they saw her as the key to their vengeance. And they saw her as the key, the one who could release them from their torment.
I kicked out, my foot connecting with a porcelain face. The sound of shattering porcelain was oddly satisfying. The impact sent a jarring pain up my leg, but I didn't stop. I couldn't afford to stop. I had to reach the stairs. They were my only hope of escape. I had to escape this nightmare, this living hell that seemed to have no end.
A hand, smaller than the others, but just as cold, closed around her ankle. She looked down, her breath catching in her throat.
A porcelain doll, its face a mask of hatred, stared back at me. This one was different, more menacing. This one was in charge, the leader of the pack, and it wasn't going to let me go easily.
Emily thrashed and kicked, trying to shake off the doll's grip, but it held on tight, its lifeless eyes boring into her soul. The other dolls were closing in, their whispers turning into menacing growls. She was trapped. Her back hit the cold stone wall.
The dolls pressed in, their lifeless eyes glowing with an eerie light. Their porcelain faces, once innocent, were now contorted in grotesque, hateful expressions.
The leader doll, clutching a tiny silver knife, crawled onto her chest, its cold porcelain skin sending shivers down her spine. It raised the knife, its tiny point glinting in the dim light.
You will suffer as he suffered.
It hissed, its voice a chilling whisper that seemed to come from all around her.
You will know his pain.
Thinking fast, Emily grabbed a heavy toolbox from the workbench and swung it blindly. It connected with a sickening thud. Dolls scattered, their whispers turning to shrieks of anger and surprise.
I scrambled to my feet, kicking and shoving my way through the throng of angry dolls. They grabbed at my clothes, my hair, but I fought them off, fueled by adrenaline and terror.
She reached the stairs, taking the steps two at a time. The dolls were right behind her, their cold porcelain hands reaching for her ankles. Their angry whispers followed her, promising pain and suffering.
I burst out of the trapdoor and slammed it shut just as the dolls reached it. I could hear their furious scratching and pounding on the other side, but they were trapped. For now.
Emily didn't stop running until she reached the safety of her apartment. She slammed the door shut and leaned against it, her chest heaving, her body trembling with fear and exhaustion. She had escaped with her life, but she knew that Bartholomew's dolls were still out there, trapped in the darkness, fueled by their creator's madness and thirst for revenge.
I would never forget the cold touch of their porcelain skin, the hate in their lifeless eyes, or the chilling whisper that promised pain and suffering.
The experience had changed her, leaving an indelible mark on her soul. Even now, safe in her apartment, she could sense their presence, watching her, waiting for the moment when they could exact their revenge. The Dollmaker's legacy of madness and terror lived. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more interesting videos.